You might think you've mastered control over your life, but if you're struggling with constant stress, emotional turbulence, or an endless cycle of unfulfilling desires, there's one thing standing between you and inner peace: your toxic habits. The ones that you've been holding on to, believing they're just part of who you are. But here's the hard truth: if you don't learn to break these habits, they will break you. They rob you of your mental resilience, your emotional control, and the success you deserve. In this video, you're about to discover the 10 toxic habits that Stoics never tolerate, and more importantly, how you can eliminate them from your life. By the end, you'll have the tools you need to shift your mindset, build resilience, and achieve the inner peace that's been elusive for so long. So, let's dive right in. Are you ready to stop letting your toxic habits dictate your life? Toxic habit 1. Holding on to negative emotions. We all know the feeling. You're stuck in that loop of negative thoughts, replaying past mistakes or dwelling on what went wrong. It's frustrating, right? But here's the truth: holding on to those emotions only robs you of your peace. Think about it. When you hold on to anger, resentment, or fear, it's like carrying a weight around that you don't need. But it's hard to let go, isn't it? After all, those emotions feel familiar, even if they're not helping us. This is where Stoicism comes in. The Stoics teach us that we can't always control what happens to us, but we can control how we react to it. Emotional control isn't about suppressing feelings or pretending they don't exist. It's about recognizing them, understanding them, and deciding not to let them take over our lives. The Stoic mindset asks, what can I control in this situation? And the answer, often, is ourselves. Letting go of negative emotions is a key element in cultivating mental resilience and achieving inner peace. Take Marcus Aurelius, for example. He didn't live a life free from hardship or struggle. He faced wars, betrayal, and personal losses. But he chose to focus on what he could control, his own reactions. And this approach gave him the mental clarity to lead an empire with wisdom and resilience. When you find yourself trapped in negative emotion, pause and ask yourself, what can I control here? In many cases, the answer is simply your own response. Letting go of negative emotions isn't about ignoring what's wrong. It's about understanding that holding on to anger or regret doesn't serve you. It only keeps you chained to the past. Imagine trying to move forward while dragging a heavy anchor behind you. That anchor is your unchecked emotions. So, what can you do to start letting go? First, recognize that emotional intelligence is a practice. It's not something you perfect overnight, but it is something you can cultivate every day. Practice mindfulness by becoming aware of your emotions in the moment. When you feel anger bubbling up, take a step back and observe it. Ask yourself why you feel this way, and then gently remind yourself that you have the power to release it. Self-discipline here is essential. It's about deciding consciously that you won't let negative emotions control your next move. Think about the next time you're stuck in traffic, feeling frustration rise within you. You can choose to stay angry, or you can choose to take a deep breath and focus on something else. Maybe you turn that time into a moment of self-reflection, or you use it as an opportunity to practice building resilience by staying calm. This is the Stoic habit of emotional control in action. Now, let's take a step back. Reflect for a moment. When you hold on to negative emotions, what does it cost you? Peace, energy, relationships. When you let go, what might you gain? A sense of calm, freedom, the ability to move forward without the emotional baggage. By practicing the art of letting go, you're not only freeing yourself from negativity, you're opening the door to self-improvement and personal growth. So, as we transition to the next topic, think about this. Can you recognize when you're holding on to emotions that no longer serve you? And more importantly, are you ready to let them go? Toxic habit 2. Seeking validation from others. Have you ever caught yourself waiting for someone else to tell you that you're doing a good job? It's natural to want approval from others, but here's the thing. Seeking validation from others can become a trap that keeps you from true inner peace and mental resilience. Think about it. When you constantly rely on others to feel good about yourself, you're essentially handing over the reins to your self-worth. You're giving them the power to dictate how you feel. Does that sound like something you want to do? This is where Stoicism teaches us the power of self-mastery. The Stoics understood that the only opinion that truly matters is our own. If we're constantly looking outside of ourselves for validation, we're never going to feel truly emotionally stable. Why? Because no matter how many compliments we get or how much recognition we receive, there's always someone who might not agree or acknowledge us. If you base your mental strength on other people's opinions, you're setting yourself up for frustration. Here's a question for you. Do you find yourself posting something on social media and immediately checking for likes or comments? Or do you seek constant affirmation from your friends, family, or co-workers? That feeling of needing others' approval might seem harmless, but it creates a constant cycle of insecurity. You're never truly self-confident because you're always questioning whether others approve of you. And the more you rely on that external validation, the more you'll feel emotionally unbalanced when it's not there. A great example of this mindset can be found in the life of Epictetus, a Stoic philosopher who was born a slave but became a renowned teacher. He didn't rely on the opinions of others to feel good about himself. Instead, he focused on what was within his control, his thoughts and actions. In his view, true happiness comes not from how others see you, but from the peace you create within yourself by aligning with your values. How can we apply this to our daily lives? Start by practicing self-reflection. When you find yourself seeking validation, pause and ask, am I relying on someone else to feel good about myself? The key here is to take back control. You can start by affirming your own worth every day. Look in the mirror and remind yourself that you are enough, regardless of what others think. Set personal boundaries and stick to them. Instead of waiting for external approval, focus on achieving your own goals and living in alignment with your personal values. This is personal development at its finest. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, but what about when I truly need feedback or encouragement? That's a valid question. Asking for feedback from others is not the same as seeking validation. The key difference is that feedback is about growth and improvement, not about affirming your worth. Stoic wisdom teaches us to focus on our own growth without the need for external praise. So, think about this. When was the last time you felt truly confident without needing someone else's approval? Can you start practicing this today? By letting go of the need for external validation, you'll begin to feel more mentally resilient and empowered. And as we shift into the next topic, I want you to keep in mind how this internal shift can open up new possibilities for you. Because when you stop seeking validation, you'll find that you're no longer afraid of taking risks or stepping outside your comfort zone. Toxic habit 3: procrastination and avoiding responsibility. We've all been there, putting things off until tomorrow, telling ourselves that we'll tackle that task later. But here's the catch. Procrastination doesn't just delay our goals, it erodes our mental resilience. Every time we avoid responsibility, we're allowing a little bit of mental strength to slip away. It's like postponing your own growth. The longer you avoid taking action, the more power you give to your excuses. Does that sound familiar? In the Stoic tradition, responsibility is everything. Self-discipline is one of the core tenets of Stoicism, and the Stoics knew that delaying the inevitable only causes unnecessary suffering. Think about the story of Seneca, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers. Seneca faced numerous personal struggles, but instead of procrastinating, he tackled them head-on. Whether it was dealing with political turmoil or his own personal flaws, Seneca didn't wait for the perfect time. He acted, knowing that procrastination only breeds anxiety and guilt. We tend to procrastinate because the tasks ahead of us seem too daunting, too complex, or just plain overwhelming. But what the Stoics understood is that breaking things down into smaller steps can eliminate that paralyzing fear. Every action, no matter how small, takes us closer to overcoming life's challenges. When you start taking responsibility, you empower yourself. You are no longer a victim of circumstance. Instead, you're in control, choosing your actions and reactions every step of the way. Here's something to think about. What happens when you continually avoid the things that scare you? You'll likely find yourself trapped in a cycle of stress and anxiety. But when you decide to face your responsibilities, it's like stepping out into the sunlight after a long period of darkness. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. So, if you're feeling overwhelmed by a project or a responsibility, ask yourself, what's the smallest step I can take today to move forward? Imagine this. You have a big project due, and it feels like a mountain you can't climb. Instead of thinking about the whole project, focus on one small task. Maybe it's drafting the first paragraph or making an outline. Resilience training isn't about being perfect from the start. It's about taking consistent steps, no matter how small. And before you know it, the mountain you feared has turned into a series of manageable hills. By consistently tackling tasks, you're building emotional stability. You're showing yourself that you can trust your own decisions. And as you overcome procrastination, you'll realize how much more energy and time you have for what really matters. So, as we move forward, think about the next responsibility you've been avoiding. What small step can you take today? By making that choice, you'll be moving closer to achieving success and mastering your life. Toxic habit 4. Fearing change and uncertainty. Change is inevitable. Yet, how many times have you found yourself paralyzed by the unknown? The fear of change and uncertainty can keep us stuck, preventing us from growing, learning, and moving forward. It's normal to feel anxious when things aren't certain, but Stoic philosophy teaches us that the only thing we can control in uncertain times is our reaction to them. Fear of the unknown only stifles our mental clarity and stops us from embracing the opportunities that change often brings. If you think about it, many of our greatest fears are based on the future, things that haven't even happened yet. We get caught in a cycle of imagining worst-case scenarios, which prevents us from acting. But here's the thing, when we face change head-on, we build resilience. We learn that change, while uncomfortable, is often the very thing that helps us grow. Think about Heraclitus, the ancient philosopher who said, "The only constant in life is change." He understood that embracing uncertainty is part of the process of becoming more resilient. What does it mean to truly embrace uncertainty? It's about shifting your mindset. Instead of fearing the unknown, start seeing it as an opportunity to evolve. For example, if you're going through a career change, instead of fearing what lies ahead, focus on what you can learn from the experience. Self-discipline comes into play here. You can't control everything, but you can control how you prepare for and respond to change. It's about approaching life's challenges with mental toughness and adaptability. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to thrive in the face of change, while others crumble? The difference often comes down to mindset. Those who embrace change don't wait for the perfect moment. They understand that they might not know exactly what will happen next, but they trust themselves to handle whatever comes their way. They see change as an opportunity, not a threat. They believe in their own ability to adapt and thrive. The Stoics offer us a powerful tool to deal with change: self-reflection. Reflect on past experiences where uncertainty led to something good. Maybe you changed careers, moved to a new city, or started a new project. Did the fear of the unknown hold you back, or did you push through it and find something better on the other side? Mental resilience is about recognizing that we cannot predict the future, but we can prepare ourselves for whatever comes. As we move forward, I encourage you to ask yourself, what change have you been resisting out of fear? What could you gain by embracing the uncertainty that comes with it? If you start to reframe change as something you can navigate, not something that controls you, you'll find that the fear of uncertainty starts to lose its grip. Toxic habit 5. Dwelling on the past. How many times have you caught yourself looking back, wishing you had done things differently? It's easy to get stuck in the past, replaying old mistakes and regrets. But here's the hard truth: dwelling on the past doesn't change a thing. In fact, it only holds you back from living in the present and moving forward. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that emotional control is all about focusing on the present moment, not the mistakes we've made or the things we can't change. When we dwell on the past, we rob ourselves of the energy and mental clarity needed for the present. It's like being stuck in a car with the emergency brake on, never able to move forward. The key to personal growth lies in letting go of what cannot be changed. Mental resilience means accepting that you cannot change your past, but you can control how you respond to it today. Think about the life of Marcus Aurelius. He experienced immense personal loss and faced great challenges, but instead of constantly mourning what he couldn't control, he chose to learn from those experiences. He didn't ignore his past, but he used it as a tool for growth. He understood that focusing on the present moment and building resilience is the best way to honor the past, not by reliving it. This doesn't mean ignoring painful memories or pretending everything is okay. It's about acknowledging your feelings and then choosing to move forward. For instance, if you made a mistake at work or in a relationship, it's natural to feel upset. But instead of letting that regret consume you, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to grow? Self-reflection is an essential part of this process. Once you learn the lesson, let the past go. The next time you find yourself trapped in the past, try grounding yourself in the present moment. Practice mindfulness and focus on what's in front of you, rather than what's behind. Realize that every moment you spend dwelling on the past is a moment you're missing out on shaping your future. Self-discipline and emotional stability come from accepting the present as it is and choosing to move forward with intention. So, let's think about this. What are you holding on to from your past that's no longer serving you? What would it take to let go and start focusing on the opportunities in front of you? By releasing the past, you free yourself to create a better future. Toxic habit 6. Blaming others for your circumstances. It's easy to point the finger when things go wrong, isn't it? Blaming others for our problems, whether it's a boss, a friend, or a situation outside our control, seems like a natural reaction. But here's the thing, when you blame others, you give away your power. You're telling yourself that your happiness and success depend on others. The Stoics would say that this is a path to misery and disempowerment. True mental strength comes from taking responsibility for your own life, no matter what others have done or how difficult the situation may be. The Stoic philosophers knew that we cannot control the actions of others, but we can control how we react to them. Self-mastery is about understanding that you are the creator of your own fate. Emotional control isn't just about managing your feelings, it's about taking full responsibility for how you respond to life's challenges. When you stop blaming others, you reclaim your power to make decisions, change your life, and find inner peace. Think about Epictetus, who spent much of his life as a slave. He could have easily blamed his circumstances, but instead, he chose to focus on what he could control, his thoughts and actions. In his teachings, he emphasizes that we are responsible for our own peace of mind. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it, he wrote. And this is a core principle of resilience training, recognizing that no one else can determine your emotional state unless you let them. Let's take a moment to think about your own life. When something goes wrong, how often do you find yourself blaming someone else? Maybe it's a colleague who didn't do their part, or a friend who let you down. Now, ask yourself, what could you have done differently in that situation? What part of the problem can you own and change moving forward? This is where personal development takes root. The moment you stop blaming others is the moment you start taking charge of your life and your destiny. One practical exercise is to start looking for patterns in your life where blame has held you back. Maybe it's blaming your job for not giving you the opportunities you want, or blaming your upbringing for your struggles. Once you recognize these patterns, replace them with questions like, what can I do now? Or how can I take action to improve this situation? This shift from blame to responsibility is key to building resilience. So, think about it. When you stop blaming others, what opens up for you? How would your life change if you took full responsibility for your circumstances, no matter how challenging? By adopting the Stoic mindset of personal responsibility, you'll be amazed at how much more empowered and emotionally stable you'll become. Toxic habit 7. Being overly attached to material possessions. In today's world, it's easy to get caught up in the pursuit of more money, more possessions, more status. But here's the truth: overly attaching yourself to material possessions doesn't lead to happiness. In fact, it often leads to stress, anxiety, and a constant feeling of never having enough. The Stoics believed that true inner peace comes not from what we own, but from the virtues we cultivate within ourselves. Emotional control means not letting the desire for external possessions dictate our happiness. Let's pause and think about how many times we've wanted something more, maybe the latest gadget, a bigger house, or a new car. In the moment, it feels like the answer to all our problems. But once we get it, what happens? The excitement fades, and we're left searching for the next thing. This cycle doesn't stop until we realize that material wealth doesn't provide lasting satisfaction. The Stoics taught that we should detach ourselves from the need for external validation or possessions to find true freedom and emotional stability. Consider the example of Diogenes, a philosopher who famously lived in a barrel. Diogenes had no material possession, and he was happy. He understood that happiness is not dependent on wealth or things. This Stoic mindset teaches us that by freeing ourselves from the constant desire for material things, we can achieve true mental resilience. Instead of clinging to possessions, we can focus on cultivating the virtues that bring lasting fulfillment: wisdom, courage, and self-discipline. Of course, this doesn't mean you can't enjoy material things. The Stoics weren't opposed to wealth or comfort. Rather, they believed that we shouldn't let them control us. Self-discipline comes into play here. We should be able to enjoy life's pleasures, but we shouldn't be dependent on them for our happiness. When you stop defining your worth by your possession, you start to find mental clarity and peace. The more we detach ourselves from materialism, the more we make space for deeper, more fulfilling aspects of life. Let's reflect. How much of your happiness is tied to things you own or want to own? Are you allowing your possessions to define you? By practicing the Stoic habit of detachment, you'll find that the pursuit of happiness through material things is replaced with the pursuit of true personal growth and emotional well-being. Toxic habit 8. Avoiding discomfort and growth. Discomfort is inevitable. Whether it's physical, emotional, or mental, we all face moments when life pushes us out of our comfort zones. But here's where it gets tricky. Many of us avoid discomfort at all costs. We shy away from challenges, preferring the familiar over the unknown. But in avoiding discomfort, we're also avoiding growth. Stoic philosophy teaches us that the path to mental resilience and personal development is often through discomfort. It's in those moments when we feel the most resistance that we are actually being given the greatest opportunity to grow. Think about it. When was the last time you grew as a person without facing some kind of discomfort? The truth is, growth requires pushing past what feels safe. The Stoics believed that we should not only accept discomfort, but actively seek it out as a means of strengthening our character. Self-discipline is the foundation of this principle, choosing to do what's difficult in order to improve ourselves. This could mean getting up early to work on your goals, practicing self-reflection even when it's uncomfortable, or taking on challenges that stretch you beyond your limits. Take Seneca, for instance. He didn't shy away from the difficulties of his time, whether it was political struggles, personal loss, or the challenges of living a Stoic life. Instead, he used each hardship as an opportunity to build mental toughness. His resilience in the face of adversity wasn't born out of ease. It was forged in discomfort. And the same can be true for you. Each uncomfortable moment is an opportunity to refine your character and deepen your emotional intelligence. So, why do we avoid discomfort? Often, it's because we fear failure or embarrassment. But here's a Stoic perspective. Failure isn't something to fear, it's something to embrace. Mental resilience is about learning how to face failure and use it as a stepping stone. Every time you try and don't succeed, you learn something valuable. The Stoic practice of self-reflection allows you to look at these moments not as setbacks, but as lessons in becoming a stronger, wiser person. Next time you feel discomfort, ask yourself, what is this teaching me? How can I grow from this experience? You might find that the more you embrace discomfort, the stronger you become. The key is to start seeing discomfort as an ally in your pursuit of success and personal growth. It's through these moments of challenge that you cultivate the mental resilience needed to face whatever life throws at you. Toxic habit 9. People-pleasing and sacrificing your values. How many times have you said yes when you really wanted to say no? It's natural to want to please others, but when you do it at the expense of your own values, you're setting yourself up for resentment and emotional burnout. People-pleasing isn't about kindness, it's about sacrificing your own beliefs and needs to avoid conflict or gain approval. The Stoics believed that the key to emotional stability and mental resilience is living in alignment with your values, not in alignment with everyone else's expectation. Imagine this. You agree to take on a project at work that you don't really want, just to avoid disappointing your boss. Or you go along with something a friend wants, even though it goes against your principles. At the moment, it feels like a small compromise, but over time, these small sacrifices begin to pile up, and you start to lose sight of what really matters to you. Self-discipline isn't just about controlling your actions, it's about staying true to yourself, even when it's difficult. Consider Epictetus, who was born a slave but never let his circumstances define his worth. Despite the harshness of his life, he never compromised on his principles. He chose to live with integrity, even when it was difficult, because he understood that the only thing he could truly control was his own actions and thoughts. His Stoic wisdom teaches us that when we sacrifice our values to please others, we lose the very foundation of inner peace and personal development. The danger of people-pleasing is that it keeps us from setting healthy boundaries. We're constantly trying to meet the expectations of others, which leaves us feeling drained and unfulfilled. But when you start setting boundaries and saying no when it aligns with your values, you begin to take control of your emotional health. This doesn't mean being rude or unkind. It means respecting yourself enough to stand by your beliefs and protect your time and energy. One way to start practicing this is to get clear on your values. What's most important to you? Is it honesty, compassion, independence? Once you know your core values, it becomes easier to identify when you're being pulled away from them. Mindfulness practices can help you stay in touch with your own needs and desires, so you're not constantly seeking validation from others. Mental clarity comes from having a clear sense of self and not allowing others' expectations to dictate your choices. So, let me ask you, are you living in alignment with your values? Or are you constantly trying to please others at the expense of your own peace of mind? By choosing to honor your own values, you'll begin to experience more authentic relationships and greater emotional stability. And as we move into the final toxic habit, I encourage you to reflect on how saying no to others can be a powerful form of self-respect. Toxic habit 10. Overindulgence in pleasures. In a world filled with temptations, it's easy to fall into the trap of overindulgence. Whether it's food, entertainment, shopping, or social media, we live in an age where pleasure is always within reach. But here's the catch. Overindulgence in pleasures often leads to a loss of control, creating a cycle of dissatisfaction and emotional instability. The Stoics believed in moderation, the idea that true happiness comes not from excess, but from living in alignment with nature and practicing self-discipline. Think about the times you've overindulged. Maybe you ate an entire pizza when you weren't really hungry, or you spent hours scrolling through your phone, even though you had more important things to do. In the moment, it feels good, but afterwards, there's often regret and a sense of emptiness. This is because mental resilience isn't about avoiding pleasure. It's about enjoying it in a balanced way, without allowing it to control your life. The Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote extensively about the dangers of overindulgence. He believed that excessive pleasure weakens the mind and distracts us from our true purpose. When we focus too much on satisfying our desires, we lose sight of our higher goals. Emotional control and mental strength come from finding balance in all aspects of life, including pleasure. If we allow ourselves to be driven by desire, we end up enslaved by our own impulses. Moderation is key. The Stoics didn't reject pleasure entirely. They simply believed that we should enjoy it in a way that aligns with our greater values. For instance, instead of mindlessly consuming food, we can savor a meal, appreciating the flavors without overindulging. Instead of binge-watching TV shows, we can enjoy entertainment in moderation, using our time wisely to cultivate our minds and personal growth. One way to practice moderation is by setting clear boundaries for yourself. For example, you can set specific limits on how much time you spend on leisure activities or how much you eat in a sitting. These small practices of self-discipline will help you regain control over your actions and emotions, leading to greater emotional stability and mental clarity. By learning to enjoy pleasure without overindulging, you'll find a deeper sense of satisfaction that goes beyond momentary gratification. So, let me ask you, how much of your life is driven by the pursuit of pleasure? Are you in control of your desires, or do they control you? By practicing moderation, you'll find that you can enjoy life's pleasures without losing sight of what truly matters: your health, your goals, and your sense of purpose. As we've explored, eliminating toxic habits is essential for achieving inner peace, mental resilience, and personal growth. Each of these habits, whether it's holding on to negative emotion, seeking constant validation, procrastinating, fearing change, or overindulging in pleasures, holds us back from living in alignment with our highest potential. The Stoics understood this deeply, and their teachings on self-discipline, emotional control, and mental toughness are timeless. They remind us that we have the power to choose how we respond to life's challenges and how we shape our future. So, here's a thought to leave you with. What will you choose today? Will you let go of the toxic habits that are keeping you stuck, or will you continue down the path of emotional turmoil and frustration? The Stoic approach offers a simple yet powerful answer. Take responsibility for your own life, focus on what you can control, and embrace discomfort as a tool for growth. If this video resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on the habits you need to change. Let go of the past, stop seeking validation, and start practicing the Stoic principles that will empower you to create a life of emotional stability, mental clarity, and personal success. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who could benefit from these lessons. By doing so, you'll help spread the wisdom of Stoicism and the path to a more resilient life. Remember, change starts with you, and it starts now.